why we want to eat protein, why it's good for us, how much we should be eating, why protein's so important. And when we're dieting, especially because we are in a catabolic state, our body wants to just catabolize tissue. Welcome to episode 64 of In the Grand Scheme of Fitness. I'm your host, Justin Schollard.
And I am Ethan Wolf, co-host.
Today, folks, we're talking about protein. We're not going to do like a super deep dive. We're not going to talk about the biochemistry of protein. We're just going to kind of give a general overview of why we need to get it. I think at this point, if you have any interest in fitness whatsoever, I guarantee we've all seen at least 100 posts of some person talking about how to get protein and why you got to do it, right? So what we want to do today is just kind of break down a little overview of why it's important. So it's not just this obscure recommendation we get.
And why you got to do it.
Yeah, why you got to do it. Yeah. There you go. Which would take 30 minutes instead of 30 seconds. Yeah, just like why it's important, some of the basics and what it does in your body. And then I think what'll be cool is, and this is what most people tend to be most intrigued with, that I just have like general conversations with, is how to get it in. Besides just like sitting there with the nasty dry chicken breast, but like what are some creative ways that we can get protein in, sufficient protein, that doesn't feel like a punishment, that feels kind of, dare I say, enjoyable? Yeah.
It's actually that punishing feeling, though, that helps you lose weight.
I mean, when I'm sitting there drinking 16 ounces of just raw egg whites, I like the punishment of it. It's like I'm giving penance or something.
Whipping yourself.
Yeah. All jokes aside, I will absolutely drink 16 ounces of raw egg whites.
Well, they're technically pasteurized out for those concerned out there.
Yeah.
Your cartoned egg whites are pasteurized. They're safe to drink.
Yeah, but even if I had to crack just the eggs into it, I would do that too.
It's true.
Because it's like 16 ounces is like 50 grams of protein.
Pure, unadulterated.
And I can slam that in 4 gulps.
Yeah.
Legit. A lot of you are out there probably thinking like, yeah, he's joking. I'm not joking.
No.
I will do that. But I don't recommend that necessarily. So we're going to be talking about like some more enjoyable ways to do it.
Yeah.
That is certainly a way, but I've graduated to that point. Some of you might not be ready for that level of intensity
yet.
So let's just talk about protein here. I'm going to defer to my muscle-bound colleague to discuss the virtues of protein. So, Ethan.
Protein is very virtuous.
And there we go. So, general overview. Protein.
I mean, I think looking at protein as the building blocks of your body versus a primary fuel source like fat and carbohydrates. So that's kind of like, I think, an easy distinction to wrap your head around. Like the fat and carbs, they're there for the fuel, and then the protein's there for the parts. Mm-hmm. And essential amino acids are called essential because they're one of the few things that our body can't produce. Most of us have body fat, so if we needed some form of energy, we could pull off our body fat supplies. We've got a ton of protein and mainly skeletal muscle, but our bones, tendons, and our body can use protein to create glucose through gluconeogenesis. It doesn't necessarily like it. It's a little inefficient, but technically we can create.
And for those of you that are trying to keep up, glucose is one of the main preferred energy sources in our body.
It is the preferred. I mean, like our brain can only use glucose and ketones if you want to go there.
Yeah, so like nothing's like hard and fast as far as like what your body can do with macronutrients, but in a perfect world, our bodies would prefer to be allocating amino acids and via proteins to building and maintaining tissue.
Yeah, like I just said, you can use muscle to build protein, or to make blood glucose, but it's not preferred. But fundamentally, we can kind of like, our body has ways of creating those macros if needed. But the essential amino acids are, I think, 9, that you cannot get from your own body. Your body can produce all the other amino acids it needs, but it cannot produce those 9, so we have to eat them. So that's just, protein's important. The other thing is that it has, in the game of body composition and weight loss and looking our best, it has a huge thermogenic effect, which just simply means that to utilize and digest protein takes a lot more calories to do so. So it's about 30%, give or take 25-30%. So that means if you eat 100 calories worth of protein, it takes 30 calories just to assimilate those 100 calories worth of protein. So
and for those astute listeners out there who might have had a little light bulb go off, yes, that means that when we look at a lot of diets, and we definitely do this with our clients too, over-indexing a little bit on protein, going to the higher ranges, like it's not necessarily because like this middle-aged person with very little muscle mass needs 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But what it does do, it's not hurting them to eat that, but it also A, keeps them feeling full because protein takes a second to chew and swallow. But then B, because of what Ethan said, the thermogenic effect, it means that like I can increase the amount of calories your body's burning through digestion by over indexing a little bit on protein. So you're feeling more full. You have ample supplies of proteins to preserve muscle tissue as we're trying to lose fat. But then also it's okay if we over index a little bit because it burns 30% of itself through digestion anyways.
Yeah, it's kind of like a negative calorie that's built in, a little hack.
A little bit, yeah.
In a sense. And I don't want, I wouldn't think about it that way, but it's kind of like a backdoor kind of situation.
Yeah, totally.
If you've ever heard of how celery apparently creates negative calories, because it has no calories, but it's so fibrous in order to digest it.
Fibrous.
And deal with it, you actually are in the red, so to speak.
Yeah.
And as Justin said, it helps maintain your lean muscle mass if you're in a deficit. Satiate you.
In fact, this isn't what the episode's meant to be on, but while we're talking about maintaining muscle tissue on a deficit, that's kind of the downside of like semaglutides is, for sure, it makes people lose weight. But the problem is, in the way that it makes you lose weight is it slows your digestion, it mutes your appetite, other things happen too, but generally that's how it goes. And the problem is that because protein is such a difficult macronutrient to eat for anybody anyways,
large portions of,
sufficient amounts of to actually maintain significant muscle tissue, that like when your appetite's like bleh, like when you do eat, you're not really gonna be hammering down, an 8-ounce chicken breast.
Yeah, eating a half pound of some animal is not going to go down.
You're going to be like going for something that's a little bit more palatable,
like soup.
Yeah,
something that's lighter. And if you also think about how protein's very satiating because it is harder to digest, all things considered, and you also have a slower gastric emptying. It's gonna just sit like a ball of cement in your stomach.
It might make you feel indigestion.
I was gonna say it's gonna contribute to indigestion. It's gonna contribute to any of those potential side effects coming from the semaglutide, and then you're probably less likely
losing
to
more
eat even
tissue.
more. Yeah, it's because it's gonna satiate you so much that you're just gonna have to eat more. So it's one of those things that the people that are on the semaglutides just have a very hard time eating enough, and because they're just not eating enough to even eat enough protein is very, very difficult, and then they end up losing substantially more amount of lean mass from their total weight.
Like a good ratio, let's say we lost 20 pounds, 15, 16 of it's from fat, 4 or 5 is from muscle. That's like a typical ratio with someone who's losing fat through diet and exercise, right? But now someone who loses 20 pounds on a semaglutide, it's more like a 50-50 ratio. So you lost 10 pounds of fat and 10 pounds of muscle. And now listen, if we are just morbidly obese, that's fine. Yeah. Just getting aggregate weight down in general is the win.
Yeah, the 50% of fat leaving is going to have a better chance of doing good things. But
for those of us who just have like anything probably like under 40 pounds of body fat they want to lose, which means you're probably still in the realm of some normalcy. You just maybe aren't stoked about the way you look, but you could probably do a very efficient job through just diet and exercise. Then I would strongly advise you consider what we just said about semaglutides as far as how much muscle mass you lose. But that's kind of besides the point. But it is sort of, I think, relevant in sense of why protein's so important. And when we're dieting, especially because we are in a catabolic state, our body wants to just catabolize tissue.
It wants to incinerate everything.
Yeah. So, but if we can manipulate that via high levels of protein and resistance training, so we're signaling to our body, hey, yes, we are eating less calories than we are burning, but through our activities of eating protein and weight training, we want to maintain that muscle tissue as well as we can while we lose weight. So we look better, we feel better, we're stronger, and it's just a better outcome in general, which is why protein is so important, whether we're losing weight or whether we're trying to put on weight for obvious reasons. If we're trying to gain muscle, then it's a no-brainer. We got to eat enough protein. But believe it or not, when we're losing weight, we actually want to, like if we're like hypocaloric, meaning we're eating in a calorie surplus, it's actually okay to eat on the lower end of the protein requirements of 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight is the range everyone pretty much typically recommends. If you're like eating in a 500 calorie surplus with the intention, it's actually okay to be on the lower end of that because you're in a calorie surplus. Your body's not catabolic. You're anabolic. You're putting on size and weight.
Adding.
You're not. Yeah. Your body kind of wants for nothing. So, but But if we're dieting and let's say we're in a 500 calorie deficit, it's actually much more beneficial to be on the higher end of that range, more like 1 gram, because of all the reasons we just said, preserving muscle tissue, feeling satiated, thermogenic effect of protein, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's
and then Justin just mentioned it just for the requirements. It's generally the agreed is 0.7 to 1 pound. If you're doing, or 1 gram to 1 pound. If you're doing the 1 gram to 1 pound, you can generally look at it though as your goal weight.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, because if you're 300 pounds and you're not going to eat 300 grams of protein.
It's ridiculous. You know, so if you're 200 pounds, you want to be 185, you could look to be 185 grams of protein, or you could take your total weight and do it by 0.7. I do think there is actually even like the minimum is 0.7 per goal weight to even have enough to create the potential for muscle gain.
I think to keep the nitrogen balance in our body, it's 0.5 grams, but the goal isn't to just maintain. The goal is to like be above that threshold, which is where the 0.7 came from.
A little extra slack in the rope.
Right.
Cushion in there.
So that's your general overview of just sort of like why we want to eat protein, why it's good for us, how much we should be eating.
Yeah, and one thing I'll also say real quick too is that there's probably lots of discussion, but fundamentally there's not going to really be a difference of where your source of protein comes from.
Yeah, I tend to agree as well.
You know, you could split some hairs and talk about plant sources versus animal sources and potential like bioavailability and efficiency and things like that. But push come to shove, I think that lose the forest in the trees and that kind of a conversation. And so for those that are curious, it doesn't really matter. Now, obviously, animal products are going to be a more concentrated source of protein versus, having more carbs or fat along with them, like in a tofu or something. So generally, animal products do make it easier. But if you're eating beans and lentils and whatever else to get your protein, that's totally fine. It just tends to be a little less concentrated. So why animal products tend to be looked at. But
your options are limited. The protein molecules tend to be a little bit more bound in fiber and plant things. Not all plant sources are the complete amino acid profile of all 9. So not to say that any of that's a deal breaker. You just got to be a little bit more conscientious where like if you're doing like an incomplete protein like a tofu, then you might want to combine that with like another incomplete protein like a bean or a rice. So that way as it's mixing around your stomach and digesting that you do accomplish and check the boxes of getting all 9 amino acids, which create like a complete protein. And animal products, we don't really care. Like, honestly, if plant proteins were more bioavailable and had the full amino acid profile, like, I think we would all just be fine with eating that too. It just so happens that, like, animal proteins have all 9 amino acids. You don't have to think hard about it. But if you are like vegetarian or vegan, plenty of ways to do it. There's tons of powders that make sure they have all 9 in them. Like you can, I know plenty of jacked.
It's not that hard. It's just more of like that comment, just in case people are curious.
Plenty of jacked vegans out there. But wherever you fall in that spectrum, like there are options. But yeah, the most important thing is like don't overthink it. Just hit the number and be consistent, and you'll be fine. So now, how do we hit those numbers?
Exactly, the numbers.
It's been like a little hobby of mine, like a fun little pastime recently of just like, how do I like maximize deliciousness and protein grams? Protein grams of deliciousness.
No, but it is true. It is, I think, is the cliche is everybody thinks about just like a plain shitty chicken breast. I actually think, if you do a chicken breast right, it's pretty good, but it is also a higher chance of not being good and break away from the cliches in a sense as well.
Yeah. But, for most folks, though, it's like like we're trying to like get people who are like just snacking and eating like 30 or 40 grams of protein a day, like literally full grown men barely getting as much protein as we would get in a single meal. How do we like what's the very next step? That's kind of the idea is like, how do we make it good enough where it's like, okay, fine, I can do this trade off. And so like one of my favorites is those Quest chips, man. They're so fucking good. I just find them to be so satisfying.
Yeah. So just say they're a protein chip. I believe they're made out of like a
whey crisps.
Either whey crisps. Yeah. And they basically, they really satisfy the one for a chip, but there's 20 grams of protein in a bag. They have some fat along with them like a regular chip would, but if you're going to eat a bag of chips, you might as well slam.
Dude, it's 20 grams of protein for like 140 calories. I think like a regular, normal size.
Low in the calories?
Yeah.
Really?
140, dude. Yeah. And I think like a regular bag of Doritos would be at least a couple hundred.
Oh, dude, 400, 350. I mean, it's
for
crazy.
A little bag?
Maybe not the little bag, but like 250. I mean, it's
like
insane.
A comparable bag of Doritos. A comparable
bags would be at least double.
Yeah.
I mean, those like big
probably
personal
like
bag is like 470, man. It's insane.
And like 2 grams of protein, And so literally, like for me, the nacho cheese flavored or the taco flavored or the, whatever, it's almost as good as the real thing. Like meaning the real thing, like a Dorito or something. It's like 90% of the way there, totally fine with me.
Yeah,
But like,
it's
dude,
still delicious.
and like, what's cool about it is you can make fun stuff. Like I made nachos with it, where it was like some black beans, some ground beef, low-fat cheese, but like the base of it was like the nacho cheese, the Quest chips, and it was like 70 grams of protein.
Right, all
and I'm
things
sitting there with like nachos,
Yep.
and it was like none. Those are the hacks. Like, that's how we do it, to have this like experience of like, ooh, this feels like I'm cheating.
Yeah, this is super delicious. I mean, it's another one I've heard of, the Quest chips for like a breading.
Well, that's a good idea.
Like you crush up your Quest chips and then you coat whatever it is and then you air fry it and you get this like crispy textured little situation.
I like that idea.
Yeah, that's another good one.
So like right there, like, like for some of you out there who are like, but I just love crunchy chips. It's like, I get it, but you also want, more muscle and less body fat and to feel good and like have less regrets in your life. And so like what we just said right there, like the Quest chips by themselves or in a nacho dish or as breading, it's like find little inroads to get 20 extra grams here and there. And like by the end of the day, like the average person is eating 50 grams of protein. The average person probably needs more like 150.
Yep.
Like that's how we do it. That's it. That's the game.
Same way we talked about in the past, like little caloric restrictions, like low fat sour cream, low fat cheese. It's the same thing of just like finding little ways to introduce protein into things. I mean, one thing I'll say in a cliche sense is to just find a protein powder that you can at least participate with, at least look the other way if it's that bad. There are so many out there ranging from vegetarian to lactose-free whey to concentrates, minimal ingredients, birthday rainbow Skittle blueberry sprinkle birthday cake.
Yeah, totally.
You can go. I mean, they have clear proteins if you don't like them thick. They have like frozen, like Italian iced lemon. Like refreshing, kind of non-thick, non-creamy proteins. You can make them into frozen desserts. So there's really so many options, and I know not all of them are great. It might take some trial and error, but like they're just such a helpful tool.
So easy to just throw a scoop in. Yeah.
They do the job. There's no bullshit. They don't spike your blood sugar and anything. All the things against whey are pretty much nonsense. It's a whole food.
Totally.
It's a byproduct of cheese making. I've seen commercials be like, "Did you know whey protein's a byproduct of cheese?"
So?
And you're just like, okay, and like, trying to paint it in this negative light. So I just really recommend it again.
Just like muscle mass is a byproduct of eating protein.
Yeah. Like, dun, dun, dun. Because really it is such a bang for your buck of protein to calories that is so accessible, even if you're just putting it in water. Relatively inexpensive.
Yep.
And then you can put it in things to make other things just have protein in them. And like, again, I will say it takes trial and error. Like I've been using this brand Levels. It's a minimal ingredient list, just like natural flavor, nothing crazy. And I normally get vanilla cinnamon and strawberry. Like I can put vanilla cinnamon in a bunch of things. I can put strawberry in a bunch of things. I don't mind drinking them by themselves. And lately I've been like taking frozen berries, just like a half cup or less, and blending them and putting it with the strawberry. And it tastes like a creamy, like berry milkshake.
Totally.
It's just so delicious. I guarantee 99% of people would at least enjoy it enough to drink it. Yeah. Now I recently wanted to start getting into some desserts, which we'll talk about later. And so I got their double chocolate, and it's pretty good. Kind of has like a little grittier texture, which I'm like, but it kind of tastes like a Nesquik, Hershey kind of thing. Totally delicious. And I also got their chocolate peanut butter because I wanted to try that. And I got the small tubs of these.
How many did you get?
I got two small tubs of those because I was planning on making desserts.
I'm at like 5 already now.
No, I don't have the vanilla cinnamon. I've only been doing strawberry. Okay. But the thing about it is the chocolate peanut butter was trash. It was just gross. Like I just don't want it. I have a small 3 pounds. It's gross. And so I understand that even within a certain brand or company, but really just find a protein powder that works for you. Yeah. There's no excuse. And like one of the things as an example is like overnight oats. I think this is a great food in general. Take some almond milk or some type of milk.
Especially if you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
In the morning.
You soak some oats. You put some frozen berries in it. You can put some chia seeds if you want. And if you just put some protein powder in there, mix it up, maybe some Greek yogurt, another like a no-fat Greek yogurt, you can just create a very easy on-the-go, eat it cold. You can just drink it out of a mason jar if you wanted to, and easily just put as much protein as you want in there.
Totally. I mean, that's what I did. And it came out to about 500 calories a serving, about 45 grams, but it was, half a tablespoon of chia seeds, 45 grams of oats, scoop of protein, and then probably 4 or 5 ounces of vanilla Greek yogurt. Stirred it up. Oh, and like a handful of blueberries. Stirred it up. Pro tip. So what you want to do is you want to get a 6-pack of little 16-ounce mason jars, and you just literally go conveyor belt, just like same serving in each one. Oats, chia seeds, protein powder, yogurt, berries. Mix them up, and then like put a soy milk or something in there. That's like an extra. Like an extra few
grams. Soy milk will bring in more protein too. Yeah.
Stir them up. Put in the fridge. Boom. You've got easy, convenient, delicious, high protein breakfast every single morning.
It's done.
And for a lot of people, that could be like anywhere from a third to half of your day's worth of protein right there in one meal. So you can see where this is going, guys, where it's like, let's just say you did that scenario where if nothing else, you just did the overnight oats with the protein powder, yogurt, chia seeds, and oatmeal and berries. Okay, 5 ingredients, takes you 30 seconds, and you got 6 days worth of breakfast to do. Yep. So let's say you did that, and that's about 50 grams of protein. And then you did like a Quest chips as an afternoon snack. 70. So now we're at 70 grams of protein. And then let's just say for lunch and dinner, you have like a normal, protein, carb, veggie combo. Nothing crazy. 3-4 ounces of protein in each one. Don't have to go crazy. You're at 120, 130 grams of protein for the day. And male or female, if we're just getting the ball rolling, those like that alone, getting you over that 100 grams of protein threshold each day is going to, over time, dramatically improve the composition of your body. Yep. And everything we just mentioned could be done in like, I don't know, a second, like a minute. Like, honestly, it's not crazy. And then so now in the spirit of variety, another thing that I like to do is I like to get low-fat cheese. I think low-fat cheese, if you're not lactose intolerant, this is a huge hack because it's delicious, which is important. Palatability is so important. If it's not good, I don't care how healthy it is. People just aren't going to do it.
Yeah, you're not going to eat it.
So low-fat cheese is killer, dude. Whether it's just like 3 low-fat string cheeses that you can hammer down as 20 grams right there, or I've been getting the low-fat cheddar cheese slices, 8 grams of protein per slice, only 80 calories, so great protein to calorie ratio. Put 4 slices of that in a Ezekiel wrap, put it in the microwave for 1 minute, and you've got like a cheesy tortilla with 45 grams of protein and like 280 calories.
Yeah, it's insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe 400 calories, but still protein to calorie ratio is on point.
Yeah, so you could use a carb savvy tortilla, which really tastes great. Get a bunch of fiber, bring your calories down. And like, what we were talking about earlier, it's like you can even then just get go to Trader Joe's, get some of the pre-made chili lime chicken breasts, no labor, tastes good. Throw it in there. You have like a cheesy chicken wrap on the go, rocking in over 50 grams of protein, minimal calories, get some hot sauce on there.
So here's a sample day for you guys. Overnight oats, what we just described in there for breakfast. Yogurt, protein, chia seeds, oatmeal, berries. Boom. That's your breakfast. That's 40 to 50 grams. And then let's say for lunch, let's just say you're like, the last thing you want to do is cook. So you make that tortilla that I just described, where it's 4 slices of low-fat cheddar cheese you get at Trader Joe's, maybe 3 ounces of the pre-cooked chili lime chicken breast at Trader Joe's, wrapped up in an Ezekiel tortilla. 400 or 500 calories, probably 60 grams of protein. Boom. We're at 100 grams already, and it's only noon.
Yep.
And then afternoon snack, let's say we have like an apple and a bag of the Quest chips.
Yep.
So now we're at 120 grams of protein by afternoon. And then dinner, let's just say, I don't know, you do more of the pre-cooked chicken breast or any sort of pre-cooked meat at Trader Joe's.
Yeah, just say
and
protein.
Some frozen rice and a veggie. And now we're at like literally 150, 160 grams of protein. It required virtually zero cooking, maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say everything is
all in is like less than 10 ingredients for the entire thing and relatively affordable. And that could be an entire day, a couple thousand calories, 150 grams of protein. And for 80% of us out there, if you just did some version of that every day and you trained, you're going to be looking pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's just
kind of it.
Just showing that to that every day.
Yeah.
And it's the thing of, as you do it longer, you'll start to find ways. Like I'm in the place now where I definitely realize that finding out how to make foods that satisfy me and meet what I'm looking for and have that middle ground is really the way. It's the long-term way. Like at first you might be cool with just like bare boning it and just keeping it super duper simple. But year after year, you start to realize that you want to be able to.
You want to enjoy your food a little bit, right?
I think it's like if you just take a little time. So another thing is that like I'm being bombarded with desserts, like
high protein desserts,
and they're either using blended cottage cheese, no fat Greek yogurt, and or protein powder as an addition. And then I'm seeing all these hacks as those can be bases. So it's like 1 egg, 0 fat Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, cacao powder, or some other type of seasoning. And then that's like an easy cheesecake. That's high protein, kind of a thing. You can use low fat cream cheese in if you wanted to really make it more like a traditional cheesecake. And then like things like chickpeas and pumpkin puree. So like I recently just made a truffle that was like chicken. I didn't put protein powder in this one because I just wanted to taste it without.
Chickpeas and a truffle, huh?
Yeah, dude. So it's like chickpeas, dates, like a few medjool dates.
Yeah.
Dates are pretty high in calorie, but you just put a few in, you know, and you could always use like stevia or monk fruit if you wanted to go down that road. And cacao powder, and you literally just those 3 ingredients, like a little salt, and you just blend it, and it becomes like super smooth. And then I just got some dark chocolate and melted that, and like coated the balls in the dark chocolate and put them in the fridge. It's super delicious. You know, they were a pretty big ball. I mean, 100 calories for like a big fat ball, coated chocolate ball. You know, not bad. It wasn't the greatest, but it was still much cleaner in terms of ingredient list. Definitely lower calorie. Super, super satisfying.
Yeah.
And if I'd added protein powder in there, it would have racked up the protein. And so I'm kind of in this phase right now, starting to
experiment,
and just seeing what's good, because I've been craving desserts so much. My sweet tooth is back, I think, because I'm in a caloric deficit right now. That's pretty strong.
Oh yeah, you're craving it.
Yeah, and especially at night, I just like, it's kind of like that de-stress, want a sweet treat kind of thing. And so I'm in that phase. But like another good example is I had this craving for burgers the other day, and I just didn't go get them, and it's fine.
Just had a protein shake instead.
Just had a protein shake. I just suffered, lost a little extra weight.
That's a great substitute, man.
No, but I was actually at Trader Joe's, and they have these like caramelized onion and pepper turkey burgers. And so I looked at them, and they're great. They're super low fat. I think they have like 22 grams of protein or 20 grams of protein. Let's just say 22.
Yeah, probably.
In there. And so I got some mayo on there, ketchup, lettuce, tomato, onion. I didn't do any cheese because I just didn't have any when I got home. And I was able to make 2 of those burgers for like 50 grams of protein total and under 500 calories.
Right.
You know, there's no sides, but like fundamentally, it's like with all the onions and tomato and everything on there, super satisfying. I still had the mayo, it's still creamy. And it was just like completely satisfied my want for a burger. And I get to eat it at home. I actually had it last night. It was great. And so it's just like things like that. Where you
I think
kind
that
of
like the
meet
game
yourself
is
in the
like
middle.
we have to start thinking about like a protein to calorie ratio. Yeah. And what you just described was like, okay, I know I want like the 800 calorie triple cheeseburger from Hi Ho.
Yeah, like 1,000 calories.
You know, I don't want to wake up tomorrow and feel like I got hit in the face with a frying pan because I'm all puffy and like, you know, inflamed from all the sodium and fat.
And heavier.
But if I make the substitute of like a turkey burger that you just gave an example of, it's like, is it as delicious? No, but it's almost there. It's 80% of the way there.
It's very satisfying. I mean,
for sure.
Surprisingly
but like
so.
half the calories, double the protein. Yep. And it's just always like, what's the next best decision I can make that is in line with my long-term goals? Not what I want right now, but what I want most. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so instead of a bag of Doritos, I go for the Quest chips. Instead of full-fat cheese, I go for low-fat cheese. You know, instead of regular vanilla ice cream at the end of the night, I'm going to go for the like Halo Top protein ice cream.
Yeah, you do the 96.
Yeah, 96 lean ground beef instead of the 85. And it's like these choices seem inconsequential in isolation, but I promise you over the course of your week, you are doubling your protein and you are cutting your calories in half. And my friends, if there's ever any sort of high level advice, that's it right there. Cut your calories down and increase your protein, and just keep working for that protein to calorie ratio. Higher the protein, lower the calories. Every meal, how can I optimize? What substitutes can I make? Yep. And then, you know, start to optimize for taste as you get more experience. But like,
and so going down this rabbit hole, you know, you have tons of influencers on social media. Like you pop the bubble and you're just getting blasted with like, here's this recipe here, like everything we're talking about. Here's this dessert. Here's this recipe. But I found this one chick. I forgot her name off the top of my head, but her recipes are amazing. She bounces between sweet and savory and just breaks it down. And you know, I think you'd just be surprised with how many like little knick-knack things there are to do to make things delicious. And like this one I haven't done yet that I have to do. And she does it with chicken and shrimp. And she basically gets like what would be like a sushi nori, like a seaweed square.
Yeah.
And she just cooks rice and she just smashes the rice down, like creates like a thin layer on the seaweed, and then makes it into like a taco shape and puts it in the air fryer.
Oh, that's good.
And like basically makes it like super crunchy, super crispy, and then we'll just like throw shrimp in there, and then makes like a chipotle sauce out of like Greek yogurt as the base, and flavors it, and basically makes these kind of like saucy protein filled things, super low calorie. You know, the primary thing is, I mean, the rice is the only carbohydrate, and you can make just like a thin little layer, and they just looked so good. And I was like, wow, that's such a great idea. I have an air fryer. It's so easy. Rice cooker,
Who
10
doesn't like
minutes in the
crispy
fry.
rice?
Yeah, and with like some shrimp and a sauce on it. I mean, it sounds amazing. Yeah, so I just think it's like when you start thinking outside of the box versus just like the plain chicken breast on the plate.
And Tanya and I are totally, and also take liberty to modifying recipes. So the first version of this is assuming you don't like to cook and you just want to simplify your life, but maybe you do like to cook. That's cool. Like what you just described. Like look at the ingredients. Tanya and I do this all the time. Oh, it calls for 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Well, let's see what happens if we make it with 2. Turns out it's great.
Yeah, it's no problem.
It calls for this cut of meat that's notoriously very fatty. Yeah. Well, let's see if we went with this cut of meat that's a little bit leaner, or that same cut that's maybe a grass-fed or pasture-raised, so it's just a leaner cut, same type of meat. And you cut the calories down, increase the protein. Cut the calories down, increase the protein. Like that's the game that we're all trying to play if you're interested in things like, more muscle and less body fat.
Yeah, I mean, in baking, I think it's like a common thing that you can substitute oil for applesauce. And like I said, I just recently saw another recipe that was like an applesauce base for like this applesauce brownie that was like cacao powder and applesauce and like something else. And they're like, I don't really taste the apple at all. And it's the same with like the chickpea one. Like you could kind of tell that it wasn't like purely indulgent cream for the truffle. But it wasn't like I ate it and I was like, that's chickpea. Like I would not have been able to name chickpea if someone gave that to me.
Yeah.
So it's like a thing. It's just there are a lot of ways.
So
it's protein.
This is going to require you listeners to start doing your own Googling and research, or just talking to your phone and you'll get fed on Instagram, even though they swear they're not listening. But this is the game. And I keep coming back to this point, but you're not going to find anybody who's been able to maintain it or sustain that, hitting their macronutrient targets, keeping their calories down, still enjoying the foods they eat, that hasn't explored and developed this repertoire of high protein, low calorie, highly tasty, palatable stuff. So get your 8 to 12 things that you can make like we just described on rotation, and continue to tweak and iterate. But this is it. And the better you get at this, and the sooner we can get on board with it, and the faster you're going to be starting to see those results. And by the way, in the meantime, be like, this isn't so bad, actually. I think I can see myself doing this indefinitely. And that's the game. That's the whole point. So, okay, guys, that was episode 64 of Coach's Corner, previously called Coach's Corner, now called In the Grand Scheme of Fitness. But if you made it this far, you forgive us. We'll talk to you all next week. Peace out.
Peace.